Hey everyone. Before we get into this lesson, I wanted to first let you know that there's a link in the description of this video to a file that we're going to use in a minute. Now, with that being said, let's get started. Today, we're going to use a SQL script full of create table statements to create some tables for our database. Now, the basic syntax of a create table statement goes like this. It starts with create table. Then comes the table name. Then within a set of parentheses, we're going to list out the names of our columns, their data types, and any applicable constraints on our columns. To get a better understanding of this, let's look at our actual script. Go ahead and click the link in the description of the video. And once you do, it'll bring you to our create table script, where you can either download it and open it in SQL Server, or simply copy it and then we'll paste it into SQL Server. So let's make our way there. We'll connect, click New Query, and before we do anything else, we want to make sure we're operating in the correct database. And to do that, we're going to go to this dropdown and switch it from Master to Cosmos. Now we're in the correct database, and what we do is only going to affect that database. So now we can paste our script, and we'll go up to the very top, and we'll discuss what's happening in this first create table statement, keeping that syntax we just discussed in mind. So, as we said, a create table statement starts with the words create table. After that comes the table name, which here is planet. Next comes the set of parentheses, and inside it, we deal with our columns. And so our first column in the planet table is planet ID, and its type or data type is int or integer. It's numeric. After that comes the identity property. Now, you don't have to put this in there, but what this does is it generates a number incrementally for this ID instead of us manually doing so or manually tracking it. And the way it does this is it uses these numbers inside the parentheses. And this first number is what's known as the seed, and it's the first ID that will be assigned in this table. And then after that comes the increment number, which is how much you're going to increase for each following ID. So in this case, it's 1. So our first ID will be 1, our next ID will be 2, and so on. After that, we have the primary key constraint, which means that this planet ID column will serve as the unique identifier for each row in this table. After that column, we have the name column and the star column. Name referring to the planet's name, star referring to the star that the planet is associated with. Their data types are in varchar 50. And if you've never heard of that before, I'll break it down as I break apart pieces of the word. So that in lets us know that this has Unicode support, which means that we can enter multilingual data into these columns. So imagine accents on letters and things like that. Var is telling us how this data is stored. So without that var, it would just be stored at a fixed number. It's going to allocate storage at a fixed number, which in this case would be 50, regardless of the amount of actual characters. But the var says, hey, let's store this at a variable rate, and let's say it's up to 50. So it's going to allocate that storage more efficiently in this case. And then that char, even though we pronounce it char, is saying that this is a character data set. And I mentioned that 50 is the number of characters. And in this case, because it's var, it's up to that 50. After those two come the habitable column. And that habitable is saying, is this planet habitable? Yes or no, true or false. And that's why we're using the bit data type. That data type stores the numbers 1 and 0, the 1 referring to a true or yes, the 0 referring to a false or no. After that, we have log date, and its data type is small date time, which is what it sounds like. It's storing the date and time in a particular format. And to simplify things, we have this default get date. That get date is a function that, as it sounds, gets, or as this says, returns the date time. And so we're going to default to that present date time. And lastly, we have description, which is varchar 255. And so similar to in varchar, it just doesn't have that Unicode support, that multilingual support. After that, we close the parentheses and we put our semicolon delimiter, which is not always required to end a statement in SQL Server, but it won't hurt. And it might be good practice, especially when you first start out. There's one more thing I wanted to show you that isn't in the planet table, but it is in the voyage table. And that is something called a foreign key. And a foreign key is a primary key from another table that's a column in this table. And so we have 3 foreign keys in the voyage table: ship ID, origin planet ID, and destination planet ID. And down here it tells you that they're foreign keys and that they reference certain columns in certain tables. So ship ID is referencing ship ID in the ship table. Origin planet ID and destination planet ID are referencing the planet ID in the planet table. So that's a quick overview of a create table statement, of a few of the data types that we'll use when making a create table statement. Hopefully that helps. There's obviously a lot more to go into, but I think that's a good start. So this script is already written out and ready to use. So all we need to do now is click execute. But before we do, I want to open this here so that we can watch the change happen. And so right now you can see that none of these tables are over here in the Object Explorer. And so now we're going to click back. We'll click execute. It says it completed successfully. So let's go over here. We'll refresh. And there they are. We've created our tables for our database. Great job. Thank you for joining me. And be sure to watch the next video.